Hey guys, this is Andrew coming to you with another review. This time we'll be doing a review of the Ringside Bullet Sparring Gloves. Now, these particular gloves, I haven't seen so many reviews on them on YouTube, so I'm going to take the plunge and do it myself. And if any other ones come up, then that'll be good too. But till then, let's get started on the review now that I'm all wrapped up and ready to go. Alright guys, so now that I got these on, let me get started on my thoughts towards the gloves. First off, the cons of it. I'm actually going to do like the cons first before getting into what I like about this. Now, putting these on was a little bit of a hassle for me, and strapping them on, that was kind of it. That was kind of it for me right there. But another thing is that the wrist logo on it. It was something that C Squared Boxing pointed out in some of his other ringside boxing glove videos, is that and even a few title boxing glove videos, is that the stitched logo on it is pretty, while it's made of plastic, while in some ways plastic may not be a bad thing if it's stitched on well, but this one, the problem is that the edges on this stick out a little too much. And that can be a problem because because when you're sparring with somebody, you don't want to graze your opponent accidentally. So this might be a bit of a problem unless you this may be a problem because you don't want to end up like grazing your opponent accidentally. So you might have to use tape on the logo to keep it secure and to prevent any damage from your opponent. And another thing I've noticed is that the wrist support on this, I didn't notice it until I picked up the gloves itself, but the wrist support is a little bit flimsy, so that's something you may have to consider. And this is definitely one of those gloves where you pretty much have to wrap your hands first before putting them on. So that's another caveat. So this is not for a glove for those with weak wrists or those who didn't wrap their hands up too well. So you may have to, before you use these gloves, definitely check to see if your hands are wrapped pretty well, because if not, it's going to do a lot of damage to your wrist. So be sure to be extremely careful about that. So that's just all right. So that's my thoughts on it. But now, like I said, now here's the thing. Now the pros of it, the colorway. I love it. Like, I love the colorway on it. White, green, navy, and a little bit of black. And the colors just go so well together. And green is my ultimate favorite color, so to see that color here, especially pulled up in a way, was pretty cool. Like, it's not for everybody, but it's just a personal favorite of mine when it comes to these gloves. And I like the overall sleekness of the sleek look of the glove right here. It's pretty cool. I like the overall sleek look of the glove. Like, it feels pretty smooth. Like, it may not be genuine leather, but it's kind of cool. Like, in a way. So it's kind of cool in a way. So I don't have any problem with the aesthetic of the glove. It's not for everybody, but it's not for everybody. But it's a personal favorite of mine. So yeah, I like the way these look I like the way these look to some extent. So anyway, now that we got that out of the way, let's get started on the weigh-in of these gloves to see how well they hold up. Okay, okay. So now that we're here for the weigh-in, let's get started. Okay, so now that we're here, let's get started on the weigh-in of these gloves to make sure that we get what we were advertised with for these gloves. So let's get started with the left glove. Again, these are 16 ounces. So let's make sure that these are what they are advertised for. 14 ounces. Now to the next glove. The right one. 13.8 ounces. Okay, so like we said, we want to make sure that we get what we were advertised with and what we paid for. And unfortunately, these fall short in the weigh-in because like they said on the glove, these are 16 ounces and we wanted 16, but these weigh less than that. They're actually close. They're actually very close, if not to 14 ounces than anything else. So this wasn't exactly the advertised weight on this, or even or in fact it was more close to, like I said, not even it's not even close to it's not even close to that at all. It's closer to 14, which is not a good thing when you're sparring because we want to make sure that our gloves are 16 ounces all the way through, especially where we get our gloves weighed at certain gyms. So this is not exactly the truth advertised. I mean, I'm very sorry to have to say this, but they didn't exactly do so well with getting the weight down on these gloves, which is disappointing. After weighing the gloves, we can now test them to see how well they hold up when you're doing how well they hold up on the heavy bag. So let's get started. As far as performance goes, yeah, these gloves, they're pretty good on the bag, and I think that these could also be very effective sparring gloves if there's more wrist support on this. But until then, I think that these are pretty much good on the bag, and the ventilated part of these gloves is also good because it definitely allows more air to go through. So when you're having one of those heavy duty vigorous workouts, your hands can breathe a little easily. So that's one of the good things. So that's like a good thing that I wish said on the last part of this, but we can talk about it here too. So anyway, all right. So for these gloves, I give them a 3 out of 5. The reason is because the reason why I don't give it like a 5 out of 5 or these few things. The one of them is one of them is the logo on it. Like it wouldn't be a problem if it was stitched on in a way that the edges on the sides of the logo don't stick out a lot to where it could end up being a health risk because it can accidentally graze our opponent if we're not careful, and especially because it's a sparring glove, this is not exactly a good thing. So that's so this is not a good thing. We don't want to accidentally graze our opponent, and and the stitching on this is a little bit off too. Like you may not be able to see it as much, but getting a closer look, you can kind of see that some of the stitching is not really that well clean cut as it should be. And the other thing is the wrist support. Unless you wrap your hands up pretty well, this unless you wrap your hands up pretty well, like this can kind of cause a little bit of wrist problems when you're hitting the bag or doing sparring if they allow you to get away with this kind of glove. Which now brings me to the last complaint: the the weight of this glove. Like it's not consistent because this is a 16-ounce glove, and with what we saw, it ended up being closer, if not exactly, to 14 ounces than anything else. So I wish that they would have I wish they would have advertised this a lot better and weighed, but especially by weighing the gloves first to see oh, if they were above 14 ounces, even by point one, even by point 0.1 ounces on either glove. I now I was now I can let that slide for another video. I could let that slide in another video I did because because the gloves in there were closer to 16 ounces as advertised. So I'd let that slide, but because this is like a ringside one, which is like a ringside glove, which is by a company that's been making boxing gloves for however, for a very long time, I really would have expected a lot more from them. So I really wish that they would have done a little bit more with the weight of this and the stitching, and the weight, the stitching, and pretty much the wrist support on this. So again, these are 3 out of 5 stars for boxing gloves. I wish these would have been better because I really like the look of these gloves, but but like I said, I wish that they would have had a little more to them than what was shown here. I so I'm real so I'm so like I said, I'm giving this a 3 out of 5. I'm sorry to I'm sorry to have to say that. I'm really sorry to have to say that, but it's just there's just so much that needs to go into a glove before using them, especially since I planned on sparring with them. So I planned on sparring with them. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on this review and the ringside bullet sparring gloves in general. And yeah, just let me know your thoughts, and I'll be sure to send out more content to you as soon as possible. Thank you all for watching this video, and have a good rest of the day.